Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this beautiful country that you're in. You're watching Rebel Roundup, our daily news and opinion show. I am your host, Sheila Gunnery, and I'm joined today by my co-host, co-pilot on this plane, Tamara Ugolini. Tamara, how's it going?
Hey Sheila, pretty good. I mean, I'm feeling pretty unsettled given the news out from our public safety minister and his terrorist affiliations, but we'll get into that a little bit later. How are you doing out
Yeah.
there in the West?
You know what? We're finally getting some rain, which is great. Maybe it'll deal with some of the smoke in the air. I understand smoke is affecting most of this country now. But man, we've just had a terrible wildfire season. Luckily, our province seems to be handling it just fine, as opposed to when the federal government handles the fires in this province, as they did with Jasper, and then
Right.
let the place burn down last year. And then they tell me they want to make more national parks in Alberta, and we're like, no, thanks. We'll manage the forests. Thank you very much. We should tell everybody what we're doing here because we have a very packed day. I can't go long because my day is just piling up. We've got something in the works that we're not ready to tell everybody about quite yet. But if you are a watcher of Rebel News, stay tuned because we've got big news and another big
Yes.
fight coming up, and it involves me. So, if you are watching us on the free speech platform of Rumble, thank you for supporting the platform that lets you speak your mind, however you want to speak it. If you want to support the work that we do over there, you can leave a Rumble rant. That's their paid chat. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, it's mandatory to read it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our best to get to it. I really mean that. We do our very best to get to it. Sometimes we even read the free ones. And if you are watching us on the censorship platform of YouTube, because I mean, to my shock and amazement, every single day we remain remonetized over there. You can leave us a super chat. That's their paid chat over there. Or if you're watching the recorded version of the show when you get home from work, because Rebel News viewers are hardworking people, you can leave a super thanks. That's the paid comment. And we appreciate that you choose to spend your money with us because you don't get a choice in the support that you are forced to give to the mainstream media, which lies to you and then lies about you a lot of the times. So, we'll never take a penny from Mark Carney to do the work that we do. So we rely on your support at home. So that's how you can get involved in the show. But the show is a busy one today. Before we move on to the public safety minister being, I guess, a public safety concern, we should tell everybody that there are still some tickets available to our emergency independence town hall in Red Deer on Saturday. You can go to donegetingscrewed.com for tickets. And there are also general tickets, and I think there might even be some VIP tickets, which gets you some special perks, special seating, and VIP dinner with us. We've got Dallas Brody, Keith Wilson. Dallas Brody's quite something because she is an independent conservative BC MLA. And she's saying, yeah, we have a real problem with how Ottawa is treating us, and British Columbians are starting to notice too. Trucker lawyer Keith Wilson, who before he was a trucker lawyer was an independence-minded lawyer. We've got Corey Morgan from the Western Standard. He wrote a book on Western separatism. We've got David Parker, who is a political activist and organizer in Alberta. His lovely bride, Rachel. Dennis Modry. We have a media panel with Derek Fildebrand, who's the boss man over at the Western Standard, Kian Bexty, who is the boss man over at Counter Signal. We've got David Knight-Legg. He used to work for the Alberta government, and he's sort of on the let's give it one more try in Confederation side. He's definitely not like, everything's hunky-dory with the feds. They're treating us completely fairly. He's just saying that there are other things to do before we pull the chute on Confederation. So it's a full day affair, starts at 8 a.m.
Hmm.
and all the way through to the VIP dinner. I think it's $49, I believe. That's right, for the full day event, which is, I think, an incredible deal because you get breakfast and lunch, that, plus access to all of the special sessions. And you can go to donegetingscrewed.com to get tickets, like well, not right now. Wait till the show's over, then get your tickets. There are just a few left. We're like 48 hours out of the event. So that's what's coming up on Saturday. And I have to get ready for that too, which I entirely forgot because I think I play a big role in it. I believe I'm the MC. And I am not prepared for that either. My goodness, there's not enough hours in the day. Okay, all that is to say, there are things that you need to do once we get off air, and me too. Yours is buy tickets, mine is to prepare. But let's talk about this huge news that broke yesterday. The public
Absolutely crazy.
the public safety minister, Gary Anandasangari, whose name I love to say. I don't enjoy the man, but man, I like saying his name. Gary Anandasangari, our public safety minister, who already we know is a bit of a numbskull because Andrew Lawton made him look like a complete and total idiot on the gun file. And Gary Anandasangari is the gun grabber in chief, and he has no idea what the gun laws are. But he knows that law-abiding people like me are dangerous. We've got a report. This is Mercedes Stevenson and Stuart Bell broke this yesterday. They both work for Global. Mark Carney's border security czar, well, he's not the czar, but he's the minister in charge, said he's recusing himself from files related to a Sri Lankan terrorist group and its Canadian Front organization. He's recusing himself from matters related to the Liberation Tigers of Tamil and the World Tamil Movement. So the World Tamil Movement is the like Canadian Front group, and the Tamil Tigers are the terrorist group. And if you have to recuse yourself of this, then you should probably recuse yourself of being the public safety minister. Full stop.
Exactly. That's exactly it. This is Canada's public safety minister. I mean, all the time I'm saying, I can't get any crazier than this. It can't get any crazier than this. And here we are with our public safety minister having obvious ties to known documented terrorist groups, because otherwise he wouldn't need to recuse himself from matters involving them. The Global News did ask for a copy of any conflict of interest documentation that was provided. And of course, that was not followed up on. The minister didn't explain further as to why he had to recuse himself. So we're left to speculate. But I think that is pretty clear. And rather, he cited that this was being done out of an abundance of caution. And he wanted to implement a screen on any national security issues relating to the Tamil community. So therein lies the connection.
Okay, so this is like having a public safety minister with sympathies or links to Al Qaeda, right? Like, and they're just like, you know what? I've got it from here, but I'm going to have somebody else. God knows who that is. We don't know who's actually going to act on the Tamil files, but this is like having somebody with links to Al Qaeda say, you know what? I'm fine with all the other public safety stuff, even though Andrew Lawton exposed me as not knowing anything about the other public safety stuff. I'll be fine as long as I don't deal with Al Qaeda. That's what this is about. I did some digging on this. This is not anything new that we know about Gary Anandasangari. The Liberals knew about this in 2014 when they signed his nomination papers over Dan McTeague, or McTague. I think it's Dan McTague. Dan McTague is a gas price wizard on X, if you're there, and he is an outspoken critic of his former party, the Liberals. But this currently, right now, I put it in the Slack chat, Olivia. This right now is on the Tamil Foreign Affairs website. They describe him as the LTTE's Gary Anandasangari, which is the acronym for the Tamil Tigers. They describe him as being like the Tamil Tigers, Gary Anandasangari, to enter Canadian politics. And they say, in the riding of Rouge Park, known among Toronto Canadians as Tamil Elam, another politician with links to the LTTE launched his bid for the federal Liberal nomination. And then they say like another Tamil Tiger-linked NDPer with the backing of the Canadian Tamil Congress, Gary Nandasangari is planning to penetrate the Liberal Party of Canada. And by donating funds to a Liberal Party at different fundraising events and signing up membership, Ananda Sangari was made a favorable candidate for Rouge Park over the former Liberal MP Dan McTeague, who was pushed to the Pickering riding. Many question if it was the amount of money given to the Liberal Party and membership sign up by Tamil Tiger supporters and sympathizers that made the Liberal Party leader Justin Trudeau consider Ananda Sangari over McTeague. When McTeague suddenly showed up at the Liberal Party Pickering riding meeting, replacing Jennifer O'Connell, thank you, God, his supporters questioned the judgment of the Liberal Party leadership. Trudeau was already under criticism for favoring one candidate over another in the riding of Trinity Spadina. This is a foreign interference scandal dating back 11 years with Gary Ananda Sangari with his links to known Tamil terrorist organizations. And they're saying he signed him up at his nomination. He got a bunch of money. Sounds a lot like what Han Dong did with the foreign students. Gary Ananda Sangari did the same thing in his riding to win his nomination using his links to the terrorists in the Tamil community. And now he's the public safety minister. And the foreign affairs ministry of Sri Lanka has been warning us about this for 11 years. And Mark Carney's like, yeah, that's the man for the job in public safety. What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? And don't forget, we still don't know which 11, at least 11 parliamentarians were committing foreign interference and had this on their track record and on their file. And now we have more to add to that pile, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the entire Foreign Interference Commission, all the many weeks. I think it was 12 from start to finish. And the Tamil issue really didn't come up, but I feel like it should have, given that we have a public safety minister that the Sri Lankan Foreign Affairs Ministry describes as the Tamil Tigers, Gary Ananda Sangari.
Yeah, an aggressive militant group now serving as our public safety minister. We have a super chat here that I just want to throw to you from Tamara Leach. Hi, Tamara. Thank you so much for your support. Gives us $6.99. Gary isn't exactly getting off to a good start. Yeah, I mean, are the Liberals in general though, but especially our public safety minister, which I guess just makes everyone feel that much more safe knowing that he has to recuse himself from these topics.
Yeah, like who's going to take on the Tamil issue? Like who? Like they're just like, well, are we not going to deal with it at all? Or is it going to get passed over to one of the 11 parliamentarians that we don't know who are implicated in foreign interference? I don't know. Now, we have a clip from Larry Brock in the House of Commons, and I said it yesterday and I will say it again. Eastern Canada took him from me. Larry Brock was going to be the justice minister in my fantasy football conservative parliament. He was my cabinet choice for attorney general, and you people took him from me. And I want you to realize what you've done when you're watching Larry. Give it to Gary Ananda Sangari in this clip here.
Oh, maybe we don't have the clip.
No.
Oh, I see that the link has just
he
been
took
broken.
it down. The link is broken. Oh, well, maybe we can find that, but it is, Larry in perfect Larry Brock form, former Crown Prosecutor Larry Brock, who is just made in a lab to be our Justice Minister, and yet he is not, because I can't control the voting habits of Eastern Canadians. But he was going after Gary Ananda Sangari, and pointing out that this is the minister responsible for protecting Canadians from terrorism, who has to recuse himself because of his own terrorist links. What a
It doesn't
clown
get
show.
any crazier than that. I mean, I say that, and then tomorrow there'll be the next crazy thing. So I won't hold my breath. But also on the note of Tamara Leach, just quickly, I wanted to point to an exclusive interview that Alexa Lavoie was able to get between Tamara Leach and Chris
Yes.
Barber when they were in Ottawa recently. First full on sit down interview with both of them together
Yeah.
since I think the convoy itself in February of 2022. So for anybody who wants to go check that out, it just went up, I think last night or late yesterday afternoon. And you can see for yourselves the rigmarole that Tamara Leach and Chris Barber have been going through if you haven't already been following along. So kudos to Alexa for snagging the two of them together in the same room. It was a
Yep.
great interview. And I see that we have a deleted tweet. It wasn't actually
Oh,
a
we found
clip
it. Yep.
from Larry Brock here, which I
Yep.
mean, you summarized it perfectly, Sheila. But he again draws the question: how can the Minister of Public Safety protect Canadians if he's conflicted out of being able to, I imagine he says something along the lines of being able to do so.
Yeah. Well,
Absolute bizarro world.
and like of all the like here's what we know about what the qualifications to be the public safety minister of Canada are. You don't actually have to know anything about your file. So that could basically allow Mark Carney to choose any of them. We know that's the case because Gary Nandesagri doesn't know anything about the gun file, and yet they're about to spend a third of $1 billion snatching guns, but they don't know where those guns are. So you don't actually have to know anything about your file to be the minister. So they could have picked anybody from cabinet. This is just an insult to Canadians that they picked Gary Nandesangari, who the Sri Lankan government describes as belonging to the Tamil Tigers. Could have been any one of those idiots, and yet they picked this specific one. It's just a slap in the face.
Just more slaps in the face,
More, yeah.
piled on to all the other slaps in the face. And I thought it was bad enough that he didn't even know the different types and models, makes, styles of guns. And well, here we
Or
are.
the licensing requirements. Didn't know what a PAL was. Didn't know what an
Yes.
RPAL was. Doesn't know that we have to be like run through CPIC on the daily. Like we're the most vetted people on the face of the earth. If we were a problem, you'd know it. And yet he had no clue. He had no clue because he takes his marching orders from the gun grabbing lobby. If you're going to be the public safety minister, here's my two requirements. Take the RPAL course so you know what everybody else has to do, and don't have links to known terrorist organizations. I feel like that's the low bar. I feel like it's, you know,
Yeah, can
I
we
don't
just
think it's being
set that
unreasonable.
can we just set that bar now, because we should try to probably be above and beyond it. But I mean, if you have ties to a terrorist organization, it kind of makes sense that you'd also be wanting to disarm your citizenry, if we
Such a
can
good
speculate
point.
further. But
Such a good point.
also, this is the minister who's currently overseeing Bill C2,
Right.
and it tucked in this guise of public safety is a bunch of infringing parts, including allowing the RCMP to just open up Canadians' mail without any sort of oversight or due process, and criminalize legal tender cash over $10,000. Any cash transactions will automatically be flagged. And so
Yeah.
we have a release here from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, who immediately was, I think this was last week, we talked about it on the live stream as well. They came out and they were like, no, cash is so important and we need it to ensure security, privacy, all of these things. And now they've just launched a new petition to keep cash legal and accessible, which I love, because especially throughout the COVID hysteria, cash was really demonized. I mean, it's always been something where it's like the powers that be want to pivot to a digital currency, and CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. And a lot of people, especially throughout COVID, were like, you were kind of shamed out of using cash because it was dirty. And so it was like, cash is a super spreader product. And so use tap or cashless interactionless payments. And a lot of people at that time were saying, no, we have to keep cash as king. And now here you see the fight toward switching over to a digital currency. And so I'm here for it that the JCCF has come forward saying we have to keep our cash. And so not only are they calling upon Prime Minister Carney, which I always just still cringe
I
saying,
know.
to strike the criminalization of cash payments of $10,000 or more from Bill C2, but they also are calling on them to introduce legislation to protect the right of Canadians to use cash of any amount for legal transactions. And, anyone who's interested, you can go further and read their petition. And of course, you can sign it and share it. It's now live and open for signatures. But I would love to see something like this translate over to all the businesses that have since gone cashless. And we
Yeah.
chatted about this again last week when we were discussing this story when it was first coming out. And that was this one little it's like a playground overnight. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's Santa's Village in Cambridge, Ontario.
Okay.
And it's like a campground, and it's a place, and parents, so they announced in May that they were going cashless, and their comments blew up with parents who were livid over this decision, because oftentimes their kids would save up their allowances
Yeah.
all year to go, and they would spend a weekend or a week, whatever, camping at Santa's Village. And their kids would use their cash that they've saved all year to purchase things at the gift shop or pay for whatever their heart's desire. And now all of a sudden, these kids can't see and feel their hard-earned cash leaving their possession, and dealing with change and the math involved. And like, using cash is such an innate learning experience for children, and mathematics and learning. And so anyway, I loved the comments. We scrolled through them a little bit last week as well. And parents are just loving it. They're like, we're not coming anymore. And I would love to see something like this translate over to those businesses to demand that they still take cash and transact with legal tender. Because I think that the more and more we see that we're getting away from that, we need to really fight to ensure that that legal tender is upheld.
Sure. This bill, though, is a horror show on multiple different levels.
Yeah.
We have our own petition. It's at don'tkillcash.com at Rebel News. You can sign our petition too, because as soon as Ezra saw this, he was like, holy hell, this is a nightmare. We'll start with the cash problems, but there's more in this bill. As my professor, Michael Geist, points out, and for those of you who don't know, sorry, Dr. Michael Geist. He's from the University of Ottawa. He's a law professor there, specializing in telecommunications. And oh, look at that, almost 7,000 signatures already. Law professor Michael Geist, who was like so good on C11, C18, that's the Online Streaming Act and the Online News Act, pointing out the problems with that stuff and the online harms bill. He also points out that this whole thing, besides the cash problem, is an absolute violation of privacy, because it allows for warrantless searches of devices. So it reads, the new powers in Bill C2 would let agencies demand details about whether a company provided services to a new user. So like telecommunications companies would be required without warrant to turn over your stuff to public safety agencies, be it the CBSA or the RCMP, maybe CSIS, and where and when you were connected, who you communicated with, and what apps you're using. All of it done without judicial oversight, while the content of messages might still require a warrant. Everything else could be handed over quietly, and telecommunications companies would be barred from telling users for a full year. So they would be required to give over everything except the actual things you typed in a text message. So everything else but that, and you wouldn't know, and you wouldn't be able to find out for at least a year.
Wow.
Even more concerning, providers would receive legal immunity if they voluntarily hand over your data. Like what the banks did with the trucker convoy.
What
Even
about
if,
what TELUS did when they handed over all of your location data to public health through Blue
yeah,
Dot?
Yeah, exactly. So even if no official request was made, they could just say like, hey, we saw Tamara Leach in the news. Here's all of her data. Give us a attaboy. Maybe we'll get a government contract in return. Um, the government continues to frame this as phone book level info, but the truth is far more invasive. He warns that this type of access could open the doors to millions of secret data grabs every single year. And then he puts it all into context in case you think this isn't already happening. This will make it that much worse. In 2011, telecom providers responded to over 1.1 million such requests without warrants. Subscriber data was handed over for nearly 800,000 people, and that was over a decade ago. This is real bad.
Yeah, and these breaches, hacks, leak, I mean, these aren't even breaches, hacks, or leaks. This is voluntarily handing it over. But these cybersecurity threats are just becoming more and more prevalent. And now you have it legislated in there that there's protections in place to voluntarily do that, to voluntarily breach somebody's privacy and their data and just hand it over to the government. I mean, if this isn't totalitarianism 101, I don't know what is.
Yeah, privacy died during the COVID pandemic. That was the real the real fatality of COVID, was the idea that we had any privacy whatsoever. I think we'll hit an ad break and we'll come back to Sir John A.
Yes.
being removed from his plywood sarcophagus in Ontario. So we'll be right back with that.
Hey, what do you think about Alberta independence? What do you think about Alberta trying to get a better deal within Canada? Do you think Alberta should have the right to vote in a referendum to separate, the same way Quebec did? There's a lot of things to talk about. Can Canada be fixed, or has the West tried that, done that, been there, and it's just not working? Well, we're going to talk about all these things in an amazing day-long conference in Red Deer, the heart of Alberta, on Saturday, June 14th. Go to donegettingscrewed.com to get your tickets now. It's going to be a full day. We'll start with a continental breakfast. We'll have panel discussions. We'll have keynote speakers. We'll even have a debate. I think that's going to be the highlight of it. David Legg, former advisor to the Alberta government, is going to make the case for Canada. Keith Wilson, lawyer, freedom activist, he was with the Freedom Convoy. He'll be making the case for independence. We'll have other people in the debates, a media panel, and people of different points of view, including different political parties. There's going to be a bit of a trade show there too. So we'll serve you 2 meals, but more than that, we'll serve you ideas you just can't get anywhere else. But it's coming up quick, and I promise you this event will sell out. There's only room for 1,000 people. And I know that there have been 1,000-person meetings about this subject all over the province. In fact, we had an event in Calgary that sold out in 2 days when we had only 350 seats. So don't be disappointed. Go to donegettingscrewed.com and get your tickets now. I'll be there. Sheila Gunn-Reid will be there. So many interesting people. Our friends in other media companies like Western Standard, Juno News, and Countersignal. It's going to be a great day. That's Saturday, June 14th in Red Deer, Alberta, all day long. Go to donegettingscrewed.com to get your ticket now. Don't wait. I don't want you to be locked out. It's going to be full. See you there. That's donegettingscrewed.com.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
All right, Sheila, before we get into Sir John A, I just want to throw to someone who gave us a super chat last week.
Okay.
Clajin81 is following up here. So this is my mistake. I said I would pass along the message, completely forgot in the mayhem of last week and obviously the beginnings of this week. So thank you so much, Clajin81, for the reminder. Hey, Sheila Gunn-Reid, did you get my tip on checking out the UCP Bill C-14, how that will affect the charities in Alberta fundraising to better our communities. Can you look into the issue? And last week when that came in, I said, Sheila probably knows. I'll pass this along to her and get her comments. So thank you for following up. And Sheila, do you know about this, or will you look into it?
I will look into it. Bill, spring session has just wrapped. You want UCP? Bill C-14? You mean Bill 14? Because we don't put a C in front of anything in Alberta. C stands for Canadian. I will, or Commons, sorry, Commons and Senate. So if you see an S, it's Senate originating bill. I'm writing it right down right now. UCP Bill 14. Got it.
All right. Stay tuned, I suppose.
Yes.
All right. And now in other news, we have Sir John A. back at Queen's Park for the first time in 5 years.
Yeah.
He was boarded up. He's been boarded up ever since, what was it? The Black Lives Matter protests hit the streets in the summer of 2020.
Yeah. And I see CBC's got a typo in their headline. Committee vote. Why did this have to go to a committee? Voted to remove hoarding. Hoarding, I think they mean boarding, that was put up after statue was vandalized in 2020. They victim blamed poor John A. He was the victim of vandalism. So they told him that his skirt was too short, and then they put him in a cloak. This is so stupid. There was a time where the province of Alberta was threatening the province of Ontario, saying, like, if you're not going to take down that rat-infested plywood sarcophagus around Sir John A. Macdonald, we'll take him. Thank you very much. And there was no movement on that. But yeah, why did it take a committee to vote to take down the shroud, the plywood shroud, off one of the fathers of Confederation, the father of Confederation?
Yeah, after demonstrators threw pink paint on him in 2020 amid a wave of protests across the country. That it says here, the CBC, that they took aim at McDonald as Canadians grappled with the history of residential schools. But I think it was actually the Black Lives Matter protests that were unleashed on the streets at, adjacent to George Floyd and what happened there in the US.
I think it was all the same. I think it's all the same agitators just looking for a reason, like whether it was the alleged Kamloops residential school discovery, and then Justin Trudeau saying we're genocide heirs and saying how he understood the church burnings, and then they were vandalizing statues of the Queen and statues of the Pope, and he was just caught up in the nonsense. But yeah, it's BLM, the anti-colonialist agitators. I think they're all the same people. Like, I think that Venn diagram, as Jason Kenney would say, is a circle.
It's so funny. They have a quote in here from NDP's Sol Mamakwa, who is a residential school survivor and the only First Nation member at Queen's Park. And he said that this statue is a source of pain. It's a statue of oppression. It is a statue of colonialism. It is a statue of Indian residential schools. Were his thoughts on the unveiling of Canada's founding father at Queen's Park.
These people never have the same sense of emotion and regret when they trot out Jean Chrétien, who was the Indian Affairs Minister who signed off on the last residential schools. He's still alive. He's not a statue, although he looks like a fossil. He's still alive. They never protest him. They treat him as completely credible, elder statesman of the progressive movement. He's the last dude responsible for the residential schools. Go harass him instead of a statue, an inanimate statue. They're actually living people who are still responsible, but they never quite get that far.
Our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, his dad,
right,
played a crucial role in residential schools as well. So I don't know. Yeah, where is the disdain for him as well? It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Let's move ahead.
Yes.
Canada, because we're running out of time. Canada sets record number for refugee claims. I think we're actually 4th in the world.
Yeah, so I wrote this up so we can
Yeah.
source direct to my written piece here. We soared to the 4th place among global asylum destinations, according to the United Nations recent refugee report. And so we took in a staggering 174,000 new refugees. This is
Jeez.
2024 data, obviously, which jolted us up one place. We were previously 5th on the global scale. And I just point out in this written piece here that also Canada welcomed over 800,000 newcomers in the first 4 months of this year alone, after the Liberals pledged to rein immigration into more sustainable levels. We see that just continuing to skyrocket. And I show a graph here that was posted on X that just, I mean, the proof is in the pudding there. And the data speaks for itself. Look at that line just jump up from 2020 and just absolutely skyrocket our international migration from, you can see the record from 1952 all the way until 2025. And it is just absolutely staggering. And now we see it playing out, in real time. All of our social safety nets, our healthcare, housing, all of these things are strained. Food banks are at max capacity, seeing more people than they ever have before. And we're just continuing to bring them all in. And we're ranking 4th now for refugee claims on the global scale. I think Germany was 3rd. Let me just see if I can pull up the report. It's the first hyperlink in the written piece, the actual report there. So we welcomed 174,000, Germany almost 230,000, Egypt welcomed just under 435,000, and the US was almost 730,000 refugee claims in 2024. You can see the graph on page, what is it here? Oh, my screen just, page 2 of the report. Sorry, the first page. Oh, page 2, I was right the first time. You can see the refugee claims from 2014 have just continued to go up exponentially. And so we have this unmitigated immigration disaster, I would say, in this unchecked flow. Maybe we can just play this clip here that I embedded from Michelle Rempel-Garner out of Alberta, when she speaks to just the absolute disarray and chaos that this is causing.
Why are they persisting in bringing in hundreds of thousands of students and temporary foreign workers on temporary visas when people can't find jobs?
Sure.
Be completely, let's use the facts here. Her numbers are totally inaccurate. There's been 290,000 net new arrivals into Canada through the International Student Program. I don't know where she comes up with numbers. I would contextualize the numbers that she seems to read.
Sure.
It for you, Mr. Chair. The reality is that there were way less than 290,000 housing starts last year, and there's a lot more than 290,000 people waiting for family doctors right now. Why is she persisting in raising immigration levels when people can't find a doctor or a job?
Yeah, well, Minister.
So, Mr. Chair, again, I would say we are working on sustainable immigration. We have committed to reduce the temporary numbers as well as our permanent residency numbers.
Yeah, but they haven't. So
Right. Also, I mean, when you break these numbers down per capita, Germany is twice our size.
yeah,
Like twice our size. They're like 83, 84-ish million, I believe. They're twice our size. We are we're not even absorbing them. We're just taking in and warehousing refugees faster than anyone else in the world. I think we're close to more than Egypt by capita, and Egypt is right next door to a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Poland on the list? Are we ahead of Poland? They're right next door to a war too. Think about that. We are
Well, and
across the ocean from wars, and the war-torn places per capita are taking in fewer refugees.
it was only last year that this piece came out of the Daily Hive where immigrants are leaving Canada because they've been sold this idea that they can come to Canada for a better life, and that better life just doesn't exist here anymore. And the headline on this piece from the Daily Hive, and that one's also hyperlinked in that article, but I'll put it in the thread just to keep things together. There's no living, just surviving.
Right.
Immigrants get candid about why they want to leave. So like we're just bringing them all in, but then they're like, wait a minute, we thought this was the land of freedom and
Right.
good fortune, and it's actually crumbling. So we're out. We're going back. We're going back to our home
Right.
country. Like it's a mess.
Yeah, and I remember when Tucker Carlson was speaking in Edmonton, and he was like, I love Canada. It's wide open, vast, beautiful, and free. And yet you have a government that is insistent on filling it up with people. For what reason? I don't know. Like, there are places in the world that are heavily populated yet still beautiful. I think of Taiwan, for example. But still, like the crowding, the situation of having just people on top of people on top of people, what is the point of that all? It doesn't grow the economy. It strains everything. The only thing I can think of is that these are future Liberal Party voters, which in the new country, that's not going to be my problem. It's going to be yours, Tamara.
Yeah, thank you. We're seriously talking. I mean, the worse things get, I'm like, you know what? Maybe we can forge a new path in Alberta, in the future country of Alberta.
All I know is when Trump goes to Canada and asks us for the G7 and he looks around and says, these people want out of Canada and they kind of like us, he's going to come on real strong to us. He's never actually come on strong specifically to Alberta. And once he takes a gander at us and what we have and what we could have, he's really going to want us. And I think we're going to have some strong offers after the G7 next week. I hope anyway.
Well, especially as our leadership just maintains its complete ineptitude. On that same vein of immigration, the immigration minister, who you saw a little clip of her there, basically saying a whole lot of nothing. She says that visitors on expired visas in Canada are just expected to leave on their own, right? It's all like
you guys. It's fine. They're just gonna go.
It's good faith. I mean, we trust that they'll just leave when their visa expires. Why wouldn't they?
Right. Yeah. It's not like we have like, what is it, 500,000 or maybe 1 million people, potential deportees just wandering about the country. They don't know where they are. They missed immigration board review hearings. So if people were going to self-deport, they probably would have already. We wouldn't have all these people who are under deportation orders just trotting around the country, taking up our housing.
It's their best guess. They estimate that it's anywhere from 200 to 500,000 people who, should have been deported or are here illegally. That we don't know where they went. Maybe they went into the US. We've been seeing more and more that that's where they end up, which is why Trump has urged and taken measures against Canada to tighten its border security, because we can't keep track of these illegals and they're just given free rein through the country and then they cross the borders into the US, which is just more craziness. The Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, Lena Diab, said that it's not up to the immigration department to enforce the removal of deportees. So who is it up to then?
I guess the CBSA. I don't know.
Our public safety minister who has ties to terrorist organizations.
Do you know what I think about how stupid and inept these people are? We should be grateful things are not worse. They're bad, but these people are absolute morons. You know, and they just shuffling the buck around. They don't know their file. They don't care. And all their answers are somebody else will do it. It's fine.
It's not our responsibility. And we're going to have conversations about it. So just you wait because we'll talk. That's
Yeah.
basically what I get from the Liberals at this point. And especially, even the Borders, all of them, they're like, we're going to have some serious conversations.
What happened to our fentanyl czar, by the way?
Yeah, he had some sort of presser, I think, earlier this week, but I didn't hear much otherwise. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to tune into it. But we know that they were talking, Sheila. They assured us that they were having conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
They're
were
having
talking.
conversations. That's great. Um, and one of the things that, like, have you ever tried to use the healthcare system these days? It's months, maybe a year, years to get an appointment, especially for medical imaging. Saskatchewan seems to have some of the lower wait times, and that's because they allow people to access private MRI and imaging clinics and have that offset by, the province covers the cost and the private sector does the delivery. And so they have lower wait times to get medically necessary imaging like CT scans and MRIs. Besides that, according to the radical right-wing zealots at the Globe and Mail, Canadians are waiting longer for surgeries even as the number of operations increases. Yeah, I wonder why. It's almost like there's more people trying to use the services, the rationed services of a publicly funded healthcare system.
Well, and they say that surgical volume increased just under the headline and the photo here. They say surgical volume increased by about 5% between 2019 and 2020, and then 2023 and 2024, but did not keep up with the 7% population growth and 10% rise in demand for people 65 and older, because we also have that aging population of baby boomers and this unmitigated record immigration coming into the country.
Well, we have new Canadians sponsoring their parents into the country. And then they're aging too. And so we don't have enough healthcare for our liberal voting boomers. And then so we're just going to bring in more liberal voting boomers. And look, I'm not against immigration, but I don't think immigration should be to the detriment of the country and the services provided, because then you're failing both the immigrant but also the people paying for it. And I saw this on 6Buzz. And it's making the rounds. A Canadian man who waited over 6 months for an MRI appointment in Canada finally got one while on vacation in China for $190. No appointment needed.
Yeah, I heard my sister was actually just telling me about that story, which so she currently lives in Mexico, and she says it is absolutely staggering, the difference in medical care and the ability to get answers quickly, especially if you're having some sort of actual health emergency. And so this is very much how things are run also in other countries. Canada, with our free healthcare that we all pay hundreds of thousands of dollars into every year, whether or not you use the system, because thank you to our ever increasing taxes. But this is the way in other countries. I mean, for $190, if you're not being taxed that every year to pay into a healthcare system, you could afford to seek that kind of diagnostic imaging within a few hours rather than waiting months, years. I mean, even if you go into the emergency department and you wait, 8+ hours, that's a strain in and of itself. And your time is also worth something, right? Time is money. And so when you're waiting 8 hours for diagnostics that you could go to another country for and get on a scale of, 1 to very expensive, I would say that's relatively moderate in terms of getting some answers for a health woe. This is your future. And the longer you leave things waiting and undiagnosed and unattended to, the worse they're going to get. So we could curb and save a lot by having a little bit of forethought and being able to get to people quicker so that their situation and their health doesn't deteriorate, waiting months to simply be seen or have a test done.
Yeah, I mean, in this a similar a similar MRI if you were to pay out of pocket in Canada, because there are private imaging clinics where you can just jump the queue and pay out of pocket, can cost anywhere from like $1,900 to like $5,600. But for some people who are like, I have a condition that cannot wait, that's a price a lot of people are willing to pay. Or they could just wait and die in line. I guess that's the choice.
Yeah, and there's always MAID too.
Right, there's
So
that too. So
you could always just get medical assistance in dying if you feel hopeless and disgruntled at our medical system that is leaving you in hallways just to wither away. So there's your solution, Canadians. It's there, ready for the taking.
yes, I think
But crazy that you can go to China. All the criticisms and things that, you know, the hate we have on for China. And you could, this guy was, from what I gather, yeah, he was just vacationing there, and he's like, you know what, I've been waiting so long for this in Canada, I'm just gonna see what I can do here in China. And then he was in and out, no appointment, just $190 later.
there are entire Mexican border communities that exist to help Canadians, like especially the ones that border Arizona, because lots of Western Canadians, they have their, you know, vacation in Arizona kind of thing, Scottsdale, and like places like Nogales in Mexico, like these are places that are just like nothing but dentists and surgery, because it's right across the border. You're paying Mexican money. Now the prices are inflated a little bit, because you are dealing with tourists, as you know, as you would get in, let's say, Mexico City, but it's convenient. It's right across the border. But you know, to say that there's no private healthcare in Canada or for Canadians, that's a joke. We just have to go somewhere else to get it.
And still pay into the system that
Simultaneously,
cannot serve you. Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Simultaneously, you're forced through
Yes.
taxation to pay into the free healthcare that we're so well known for.
That's right.
So I know we're going to have an ad break, but I think that we should maybe just skip it to run
Sure.
through the Trump video clip that we have now.
Sure.
Where he's finally just giving an ultimatum. He's like, you know what? We're sending tariff letters to all
Screw it.
countries, i.e. Canada, who won't strike a deal with him. And you can either take it or leave it. Look at this.
We're rocking in terms of deals. Now, at a certain point, we're just going to send letters out. And I think you understand that, saying this is the deal. You can take it or you can leave it. You don't have to use it. You don't have to shop in the United States, as I say. So at a certain point, we'll do that. We're not quite ready. We're dealing with quite a few countries, and they all want to make a deal with us, every one of them.
Who's next? Who are you expecting to get a deal with next?
So we're dealing with Japan, we're dealing with South Korea, we're dealing with a lot of them. We're dealing with about 15 countries, but as you know, we have about 150 plus, and you can't do that. So we're going to be sending letters out in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, to countries, telling them what the deal is, like I did with EU.
And are you happy with the EU right now? You were unhappy with them about 10 days ago.
Well, I'll let you know in about a week. They do want to negotiate, I will say that.
Mr. President,
I love that they say, you know, you're unhappy with them about 10 days ago, because Trump these days, you don't know where he is at from day to day. It seems to change so quickly. And one day he's saying one thing, a couple days later he'll say another. So I really appreciate that question, just kind of highlighting, hey, like where are you at today?
Just one more on Trump before we get into the daily cringe. This video from former NDP MP Charlie Angus. He's a former NDP MP. So you're a former MP from a party that is reduced to utter insignificance in the House of Commons. Why does anybody care what you have to say? But yet here's Charlie Angus making these press conferences on CPAC with his like Dracula hair. I don't understand what's going on here. But he says that Donald Trump should not participate in the G7 in Kananaskis. First of all, in the new country, we'll decide who gets to come into Alberta, not Charlie Angus. but he's the leader of the free world, whether he likes it or not, and the leader of the world's largest economy. Whether or not Charlie Angus has Trump derangement syndrome doesn't make a difference. It doesn't change those two things. Let's watch old Count Dracula Charlie Angus tell us why Trump shouldn't be here.
And this morning I offer my deep concern, solidarity, and prayers with the people of California who are out in the streets unarmed defending the rule of law against illegal kidnapping and deportation, and they're being faced down by the military might of the United States Marines. We're not talking about creeping fascism here. This is full-on police state tyranny from the gangster president Donald Trump. And this is the man who will soon be crossing our border to attend the G7 meetings in Canada. I've received hundreds of messages of concern and outrage from Canadians that a convicted felon, sexual predator, and a man who has threatened our nation's sovereignty is being allowed into our country. I understand the Prime Minister Carney's reluctance to escalate the situation with the MAGA president. But we have to stop kidding ourselves, and we have to be very honest about what we are being asked to engage with. He is welcoming in Vladimir Putin's sock puppet, who will have the best seat in the key negotiations with the G6. Donald Trump will be there as we attempt to negotiate a deal in a dark new world. And we know that Donald Trump is there to undermine us at every step of the way. The Prime Minister must say boldly that he will stand up against any attempts to interfere in Canada and to undermine through academia or through American corporations that are in Canada, any DEI measures that are in Canada, because Canada is a nation of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is what makes Canada
really serving us well
in this new dark age of gangster regimes. And Trump is the gangster. I urge Canadians to keep the boycott strong. I urge the Prime Minister to work with us and work with our allies and send a very clear message that we will not support in any way the rise of an authoritarian regime south of the border that is using the military against its own people. Canada at this point is holding the line, but we must remain true,
holding the line.
Strong,
oh my gosh,
and free.
So are you calling for Prime Minister Carney to disinvite President Trump to the G7 meeting then?
I think it's a really fair question.
You're irrelevant.
Now, as again I said, I recognize that Prime Minister Carney probably doesn't want to escalate the situation with Donald Trump, but I think we need to be sending a message somehow that we will contain this threat, and we need to make sure that we're not giving Donald Trump all access in our negotiations at the G7, because he does not have our interests at heart.
It just keeps going. I thought it was over, and then he just continues to become even more unhinged. Good thing the NDP is pretty much irrelevant, because that was that was crazy. We have to live in parallel universes, because where in the heck is this person even coming from? Hold the line. I thought Tamara Leach spent like 58 collective days in jail for that, after our own government used military force to disband and squash a completely peaceful protest at our nation's capital. Like, where these people get off on, I don't even know anymore.
I don't know. Like, I'm furiously Googling, what is Charlie Angus up to these days? Because why is he still in Ottawa holding press conferences, and why does the media care? Like, he is the male version of Elizabeth May, but Elizabeth May has a seat in the House of Commons. What are you up to, Charlie? I went to charlieangus.ca, and it's just a weird picture of Charlie Angus holding a business card that says the Resistance, and that's it.
Fitting.
I don't know. Is he on some sort of tour? I think it's Charlie Angus's Resistance tour. I'm going full out. I don't know. Yeah, it says
just a solo guy resisting on his own there.
Yeah, I'm going full out. Former Northern Ontario MP Charlie Angus on being more vocal now that he's leaving politics. Great. So we're going to hear more of Charlie Angus now that he's not in the House of Commons. I feel like he's like a poltergeist or something. He's just haunting us. Basically he's doing some sort of Trump derangement tour, which seems about right. It's better than his folk band. He founded some sort of folk band when he went after he went into the House of Commons. I forgot what it was called, but it was like some sort of resistancy type thing. The man is just a human cringe, and he just looks more and more disheveled, I say, as my hair continues to get messier as the hour goes on. But I'm not in the House of Commons.
You would think somebody would have used their voice when they were
oh my God,
actually in politics rather than when they decide to leave.
Charlie Angus's Elbows Up Resistance Tour. This is like a joke that I would tell. But it's true. Like, I would say this as a jokey joke. But Charlie is serious. Good grief.
He co-founded a punk rock band, La Entrange. Oh, you know what? That should be our daily dose of cringe. If we pull up a video of Charlie Angus's punk rock band from the 1980s.
Oh my God.
I wonder if his hair is the same, just less gray.
Let's go back. What is Charlie Angus doing these days? Anyways, yeah, his alternative folk band was called the Grievous Angels.
Well, I wanted to go back to the one in the 1980s, a punk rock band.
They released an album in 2021. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, for anybody who wants a daily dose of cringe, just look that up because we did have something else planned. And last week, my daily dose of cringe became a little bit unhinged. So I won't be in charge of the daily dose of cringe anymore.
It's okay. Sometimes Lisa's end up on her just on a tirade. So it's fine. That's what it's designed for. Oh no.
Oh, Charlie. We got it. 2016. Is this the punk rock band or the folk band?
It's worth drawing attention to the fact that in a world of unpaid internships out there in this country.
No, that's enough.
There's we have the 1983 one too. Oh my gosh, this is so bad.
Please.
He looks.
And we couldn't understand.
He looks like he could be a young man from today with that hair.
But then when the Dead Kennedys came on, they said the exact same thing.
Yeah, 40 years ago, I guess.
Applauded and said, "Oh, no,
styles are coming back around now."
You know, so this is the sort of thing that
I don't know if they actually play any music. Oh, it's at the end. It's towards the end.
Insufferable from the beginning.
I don't think there's any volume, which is probably for the best. Oh, no, there is.
Terrible.
Just think, he went from
this is like
to NDP to all of a sudden being on an Elbows Up tour.
The Elbows Up tour. Good gracious.
Okay.
I just learned more about Charlie Angus than I ever wanted to learn.
Sorry, everyone.
I like him less now more than ever. We do have the actual daily dose of cringe, and we'll wrap up on that. I know we're over the top of the hour.
Yes.
John Moore asked Mayor Olivia Chow why she called for a boycott of Home Depot. Now, she did indeed call for a boycott of Home Depot because Home Depot said, we're not funding Pride this year. Apparently, Pride Toronto is facing a $1 million shortfall because no one's paying the shakedown money anymore to the naked dancers of the Pride community. And so she says they should be financially punished because apparently your charitable donations are mandatory these days in Toronto. Let's hear what she has to say.
Standing by that?
I did not call for a boycott. I hate telling them, don't shop at Home Depot, guys.
You say you never called for a boycott.
Well, I'm saying that they are Americans, so we've been saying shop local.
75% of the stuff they stock is from Canada.
I know. I know, but
No,
still.
you don't.
She said, well, I didn't call for a boycott. I didn't say don't shop at Home Depot. What did she say?
Don't shop at Home Depot.
Oh, that's what she said. Could we just hear that again just to be sure?
Don't shop at Home Depot.
Okay, don't shop at Home Depot. And she tries to this point, well, I didn't call for a boycott. That sounded like a boycott to me. I just wonder how you react. If you're a Canadian citizen, legal resident, hardworking, paying your taxes, and where you work hard is Home Depot. You're a Canadian. 70% of the products, John Moore said this morning, are Canadian. And she says, don't shop there. So you don't have a job. You choose what you want to do with your dollars. But
the craziest thing to me is that Toronto's Pride Festival, like if you can't maintain your own festival in terms of financial responsibility, then why do you have one?
Maybe scale it back.
Right.
Maybe scale it back so it is not a season long. You could just have it like a parade. You could do that.
Right.
But instead, it's like a season long. And they're like, we don't have enough money to have what used to be known as summer occupied by flags and rainbows. So maybe just do a day like you used to. Like, get in a budget, guys.
And under the leadership of Mayor Olivia Chow, which you should check out our Daily Dose of Cringe from last Thursday because, wow, she's pretty cringy. But
she's a cringe recidivist.
They're boosting Pride Toronto's funding by 26% this year because all of its corporate backers, not all of its corporate backers, but three major corporate sponsors have withdrawn their support. The CBC frames it as though it's this backlash against diversity, equity, inclusion in the US. But Olivia Chow has committed to boost, she's committed city funds, so your taxpayer dollars, Torontonians, will boost funding for Pride Toronto by 62% by 2027. So, like, taxpayers, once again, foot the bill for this craziness because they can't sustain themselves. And when corporations are like, you know what, we're actually going to pull out, they need to fall back on the endless siphon of the government to stay afloat.
Yeah, it's just wild. Like,
they'll hand out more than $2.5 million to festival organizers in 2025. Like, why do you need that? Where is that even going? That is crazy.
Like, you're struggling to pay for your house in Toronto. Your property taxes are out of control, potholes, which will knock the fillings out of your teeth, endless construction that never seems to get finished. And you're like, where's all my money going? Oh, to the people who dance naked in front of little children for an entire season? Oh, okay, I feel satisfied. Thanks, Toronto's the best.
Yeah.
I await the Ben Bankus voiceover of this catastrophe. Ben, if you're watching, please, for me.
And stay tuned because there will be more Daily Doses of Cringe featuring Mayor Olivia Chow at Toronto Pride events. Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly.
Carnival, where she wears her best like naked lady costume as a senior citizen. When she held a press conference for the opening of a toilet. She was on the Daily Dose of Cringe. She is a real cringe crime recidivist, and we'll be getting our fill of Mayor Chow. I think that's it for the show. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we have one chat left. Also,
Okay,
again,
perfect.
from Tamara Leach. Thank you so much, Tamara, my fellow Tamarian. Great show, ladies. Glad I could pop in, see you on Saturday, Sheila. Yes. So anybody else who's still waiting to get their tickets for...
Tamara's coming.
Yep. DoneGettingScrewed.com. Get your tickets for Saturday in Red Deer, Alberta. Full day event. There you go. Tamara Leach will be there also. Thanks, everybody.
Coming with Chris too. I think she and Chris are coming. We sort of sorted that out yesterday morning, but I didn't want to announce it in case maybe Tamara had changed her mind or whatever. But she has announced it to us. If you haven't gotten tickets to our Done Getting Screwed town hall in Red Deer, full day, Tamara Leach and Chris, Heroes of the Freedom Convoy, will be there the full day. So
there you go. Dynamic duo.
If you needed another reason.
I was just going to say the reasons just keep getting better and better. So there you have it. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for the super chats, especially to Tamara Leach for supporting our show today. And for everybody in the background that make sure all the links are available and all the verbiage is there for everybody to find us. Thank you so much for that hard work. And we will see you back here, same time and place tomorrow, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, stay safe. And as David Menzies would say, stay sane.
Do you agree with me? It is time to make Canada great again. And that is why we at Rebel News have teamed up with MCGA Hats to introduce, well, the fashion sensation of 2025. Oh, and by the way, these beautiful hats, they are made in Canada. We don't rely on cheap imports coming over from China. So what are you waiting for, folks? Show your pride. This is the perfect thing for a patriot to wear, or maybe there's a patriot in your life that you would like to gift such a hat. Please go to mcgahats.ca. That's mcgahats.ca. Don't be shy about it. Wear this cap. Let everybody know you want